Okay, so we've discussed how to breed budgies with a step-by-step guide, and I also told you about how horrifying it is to breed budgies without having any knowledge on the matter. I'll keep links for both videos in the description. But what about raising the newborn babies? In this video, we will learn how to raise healthy budgie chicks for a breeding pair. We'll learn what to do and what not to do, and we will bust some myths along the way. Of course, some stuff we have already discussed, but to make sure we are all on the same page, I'll repeat the things that matter for raising healthy chicks. For example, separating the breeding pair. This is not only good when the hen is sitting and laying eggs, but also when the chicks hatch. If you haven't separated the pair, other hens might take the chance when the mother is out of the nest to go and attack the babies. From a lot of previous comments, people who breed in colonies tell me they've never had any issues with hens attacking the others. But that doesn't mean it couldn't happen. It is good if it doesn't. But if you go and swim in a tank full of sharks and you didn't get attacked, that doesn't mean you will survive the next time. To be ready and take precautions is better than to be sorry. The next thing I would like to mention, and because a lot of people ask about it, do you need to add bedding to the nest? Well, for me the rule of thumb is, if there is a wooden concave section in the nest box, you don't need any nesting materials. Actually, a lot of females would try to clean it up by throwing it off the nest box. But if you have dealt with splayed feet before, or you are worried about your budgie's well-being, you can add shavings when the chicks start to hatch, because at that time, the female is way too busy feeding and sitting on the remaining eggs that she doesn't really have the time to toss it out. I find it more successful to add nesting material after the chicks start arriving. Which brings me to the next point. I know you might be looking forward for the chicks to hatch, but I wouldn't try and assist in the hatching process. Although it could be coming from a good heart, but if you haven't done that before, you could harm more than you could help. All this time while babies are hatching, they are drawing in both the blood that is circulating through the membrane of the shell and the remaining egg yolk. It has contractions that pull both of these into its body. If either of these are not complete and you open the shell, the baby will die. To have a better success rate and more chicks surviving, it's better if the parents are between 1 and 3 years old. Any less or any more, there might be complications. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there will be, but at that age between 1 and 3, it has the most successful rate of chicks survival. And that could be for a lot of reasons, from preventing the parents attacking the chicks or abandoning them. We will discuss that in more details later in the video. But remember, the parents play an important role in raising the chicks, so if you can let them raise them with no problems, then that's the best you could do. However, sometimes we need to intervene. Which brings us to the next question. All we have said so far is good, but what can we do as budgie owners to ensure our budgie chicks are all healthy? First of all, we have mentioned in the video about breeding budgies that the hen needs calcium because she's laying eggs, and we don't want her to get egg-bound. That still applies here. Make sure you keep a cuddle bone or a mineral block, because calcium is important for the chicks as well to grow strong bones. Calcium is very beneficial to a growing baby, and of course if the parents eat calcium, they are going to regurgitate that to their chicks. Another thing you can do, boiling an egg and feed it to the breeding pair. The egg is very important for breeding pairs. It provides proteins and it has calcium as well in its shell. I just boil and crush it with its shell and feed my breeding budgies. So make sure to add eggs to your breeding pair diet on top of the regular one. Next thing is cleaning. Make sure you clean the cage regularly and the nest box as well. Not only because it gets dirty, but to avoid any parasites infestations, especially red mites. These mites can easily appear wherever there's breeding taking place. They feed on your budgie's blood until they die from anemia. Cleaning the cage and especially the nest box regularly could easily prevent a disaster. The problem with red mites is that if you found one, that means there are thousands of them having already infested the box. However, if you do find yourself in this problem, I would change the cage and nesting box. I will spray the new nest box with red mites killer, which I will keep a link in the description in case you need one. And I will give my chicks a bath with lukewarm water and check them thoroughly if they got any mites on their body. And you can actually use this bath to clean the baby's feet if there is poop stuck on their feet. And the final step you can keep on standby is a formula food for chicks. If the worst happened, this is the last resort to try and make your chicks survive. If one of the parents started attacking the chicks, you can remove that parent and the other one would usually do the job. If not, and you found out that no one is feeding the chicks, or maybe they just abandoned the chicks for whatever reason. Sometimes they would abandon only one of the chicks for some reason. The way you can see if the chicks are getting fed is by looking at their crop, and since small chicks don't have feathers yet, it's easy to see their crop. Well-fed chicks would show a balloon-like crop. If you discover one of the chicks is not being fed or abandoned in the corner, then it's time for you to step up and feed them to keep them alive. I'll keep a link in the description for a bird chick formula you can use, but I believe you can find the formula in pet stores around you as well. Usually, each type of formula has the information of how to feed the chicks on it, which is keeping it around the budgie's temperature and mixing it with the water, which it should be written how much water you should add. Not using a microwave when heating it is a good idea, because microwave might not keep all of it at the same temperature. So it's best to heat it on the stove to keep the same temperature all across. And finally, you can use a syringe to measure and feed the chicks. I'll keep that link in the description as well. I always have a bag of chick formula when my budgies are breeding, in case I need to help. I always hopeful I don't need to use it, but if it happens and they need me, I'll make sure I'll be there for them. Now it's time to bust some myths. They tell you, if you touch the eggs, the mother will abandon the eggs. While it might be true for other type of birds or wild birds, but it is definitely not true for our pet budgies. However, I don't recommend you handling the eggs if you are new to breeding, so you don't break them or cause any harm to them. Another myth. You shouldn't be taking the chicks and playing with them because then the mother wouldn't feed them anymore. Well, the mother would definitely keep taking care of them. I even once had a hen that didn't like me at all and was attacking me if I tried to put my hand in. So I had to close the box hole to block her entrance. And then I would play with her babies and give them back to her, and she never abandoned them. If the mother abandoned her chicks, I highly doubt it is because you touched her youngs. However, be cautious, and if the chicks are too young, don't play with them. They are really fragile and defenseless, and you don't want to hurt them by accident. If you are new to breeding, my personal advice would be not playing with the chicks before they are 3 weeks old. I hope I helped you with a couple of tips here and there, and answered any doubts you had about breeding. If you still have any questions, please ask in the comments below, and I'll try my best to answer your questions, and if needed, I will do a follow-up video. If you have any advice you would like to give that haven't been mentioned in this video, let me know in the comments below, and I'll pin your comment to the top if I find it valuable and I forgot to mention it in this video. For more about budgies, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are watching this video from YouTube and hit the bell icon to get notified when the next video is up. Or like the Facebook page if you are watching this video from Facebook.